Great. Yeah, thanks for having me here. And I think I will start sharing my screen, right? So here you go. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will switch between tabs. So I don't have the presentation mode, but I hope that's fine. Here, and I will also look on this bigger screen, so not to you directly. But okay, yeah, we'll start then. So the architecture is so-called, well, I would say that it's a multi-layered discipline. So I studied architecture in Braunschweig, in Milano, in Helsinki, and at each of those universities, both traditional and modern elements were taught. So it's history, the spanning the great arc from Genius Loci, the design reacting to it over open planning processes and aspects, the spatial program, materiality, statics, up to construction technology, and yeah, or engineering, and also partly project management. Here you see one of my very early sketches I did in Braunschweig, and it contains also a library. You see there, I marked it below library lab, bibliothek. I just found it yesterday and I thought like, hey, that's a cool starting screen here, right? So the title of my talk, and those who know me might have guessed that, no? It was of course also for personal reasons. So after 6 years of professional architecture and experience, I finally ended up in a library. So, and it was this one. Oops. The TIB in Hanover, German National Library of Science and Technology. So here you can see our main building, and yeah, and another one that's the former stable of horses that also contains. We have several buildings in Hanover located near the Leibniz University, and I ended up in a library lab, but more on that in a minute. So the connections between these fields, library and architecture, apart from this somehow obvious topic of library architecture. You see here, this is a library architecture. Library is a third place and all this happening right now. It's one topic, of course, but I will not speak about this here. So libraries can, of course, be information providers. And the TIB is the central specialist library in Germany for architectural information, among other fields of science and engineering, of course. So we buy or license everything that seems relevant for our subject specialist for the discipline. And for instance, at the workshop program of this Chamber of Architects today, I'm still in this Chamber of Lower Saxony as listed as a practicing architect. If you look at this, you might be surprised about the variety of special disciplines inside architecture. So this heritage protection, building damages, building information modeling, you see this BIM here. And so on this slide shows some use cases from current TIB project, FID Bau Digital, Fachinformationsdienst Bau Digital, so that subject information service, digital building, it can be translated. And we are involved here. I just show this as an example, right? And when you consider library services for architects, what I will speak about, it can be helpful to make a clear distinction here. So there are those people who deal with architecture that has already been built. So some here, for instance, is historische Bauforschung, archaeology, and so on. You see some examples here. So that is one category. Also, it could be also with destroyed architecture that needs to be reconstructed, heritage buildings, and so on. So that's the first one. Okay, and then are those who plan new architecture, the second category, Baurobotik, computer-generated design, building information modeling. Okay, and keep this in mind. So in my dissertation supervised by Stefan Gratmann, and Stefan is here today. Hello, Stefan. I differentiated in the same way between the descriptive models, looking into the past, and prescriptive or predictive models, describing future architecture. This dissertation was about metadata-based contextualization of 3D architectural models. And okay, switching back from these models to architects, among this first category, you are more likely to find the people who also do research, the one you want to provide services for. It's somehow obvious, right? So, but there are some good exceptions, and I'll get to them today, and if there's time in the end, we'll see. So I'm making now a small excursion, really, to show that there was indeed an attempt at TIB to make offers for planning architects back in 2006. I mean, beside the provision of journals, norms, or similar things like this. And here we go. I really had some troubles to find slides. They are not in my computer anymore, 2006, but the internet never forgets. That's cool. And here you go, in this ancient photo album-like format. I think it's from Bibliothekartag. So here was this project, and you see what we did there. So we try to generate index data or data, metadata from those models to integrate this into digital libraries. So this, you see some more slides, okay, and so on, what we did there. So it was, the name of the project was Probado, Prototypischer Betrieb allgemeiner Dokumente. It was a so-called 5-year DFG, German Research Foundation Lighthouse project for the provisional of non-textual documents in digital libraries. And the TIB's use case was the digital 3D models of architecture. And I was hired for this project at TIB because I knew this architectural discipline and the digital tools that were quite new at that time. And yeah, this was some of the motivation. You have many models here, you see, and a huge amount of data and no metadata. So we can do it by machines, and what is possible, what are the challenges, and yeah, and here finally, cool, let's do some new visual query interfaces you see on the left. It was a quite successful project from the research perspective. I mean, it was DFG, and we did many papers because of DFG. Also one, for instance, here. But the planning architects, you see, we did some types here, distinguishing or getting some types out of architecture of room types or room connectivity types, floor types. But yeah, the architects, they don't need models from the library. So every architecture has to be built from scratch. And every CAD program, that is the abbreviation for computer-aided design, has own object libraries. And planning architects, they don't want to share their models. After all, they make money with their design, right? And this applies actually to all engineering disciplines. Another aspect why it didn't work, we were far too late to real users when real users were involved, and the data included wasn't models relevant to architecture, well, to architects. It was, I mean, we didn't get the other data from the users. Okay, so this, looking back here, I will go back to my, yeah, genau. So with some of these partners, we are working this in this project Probado. I subsequently moved forward to lift this project on a European level, DURA-ARC, Durable Architectural Knowledge. And the focus was more on building acquisition, so data processing and archival. There was again a lot of research involved, among other things. And for instance, we did some automatic generation of building information models from point clouds here. I mean, we also generated automatically attributed room connectivity graphs in Probado, but here it was a bit more sophisticated. But yeah, real library service here was long-term archiving. So with so many involving different data formats in architecture, that's no simple matter. And it was also this project for me that was really showed me a pressing issue of standards and interoperability, and that really came onto the agenda. I don't just mean interoperability of building information modeling files with industry foundation class here, what the industry still is working on today, by the way, but it's also terminologies, which is a very, very own library topic, integration of terminology systems with this specialist communities, and the provision of this that can be integrated into systems. And then in the construction sector, we have this building smart data dictionary, but that doesn't reside in open information infrastructures like many other standard data and vocabularies. So why? I would ask, libraries are exactly those infrastructures that can support here. And this brings me to NFDI, the German National Research Data Infrastructures. So TIB is involved in several. And here we have NFDI for culture, the NFDI for material and immaterial cultural heritage, and started 1 year ago. And yeah, so like some others, and funded like all NFDIs for 5 years. And it can be extended for another 5. And I jump to another slide deck. I've linked several slide decks here, so that's why. Okay, I jump here. Okay, so this is the NFDI wants to build the infrastructure according to FAIR data principles: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And we have here several the ones who started in the first and also the second phase, yeah. And here we have our consortium. So you have the co-applicants, so like the core of NFDI for culture. So why, you could ask, why science? Why is a science library like TIB in a humanities consortium? It was my network in the field of architecture, this reconstruction archive group, and I brought then the subject of architecture into it. And we have some, I jump a bit between here. We have several data types here, for instance, also annotated building structures. But yeah, you see also musicology data and so on. But hey, I just said architects don't want to share data, right? So you have to differentiate. So really looking back into my first and second category of architects, researchers dealing with ancient building do. No, that was the first category, remember. And they somehow have to. If they publish about their work, and the results have to be verifiable and evident, then yeah, it's no other way. And here, yeah, these are just I briefly go over this. These are task areas. It's somehow aligned with the research data lifecycle and where we do the work. And actually, in starting Wednesday, we have a big meeting and Share for Culture open for everyone. You can join in if you want. And yeah, we have a very we developed a work program very openly and with the community. And just recently in the task area 1, we did a barcamp. first one in for culture. And this is where I think I have to introduce the Open Science Lab, and I jump back to my other slide deck here. So this lab was founded in 2013, and Lamartella and me started it together. And we were 2 people, and now we are 19, currently doing 9 projects, 6 dealing with GLAM content, and 4 in 4 architecture plays really a major role. So what does lab mean? So we are a research library. So at least, okay, not kind of a research library, at least research and development has a strong part in TIB as a Leibniz institution. And especially since Sören Auers, our director, coming from Fraunhofer before. And we have many groups with certain autonomy and own responsibility, which are in connection, but also sometimes in competition with each other. And what perhaps makes the Open Science Labs very special is that we communicate very openly about our work. So we don't just publish open access, but already we published the first idea or the grant application, things like this. And what I've learned from my project before starting the Open Science Lab is, first, we really need to co-develop services with the users. And the user community and some remark, user community and developer community are often the same thing, right? And second, we have to come out early with beta versions. And third, we have to use real data. And I will show you one example where we actually do this. And it's again from NFDL for Culture, and I jump to another slide deck. So here is, yeah, this one. So yeah, this summary. Okay, we are in for culture here. I've said all this again, and we are in task area 1. So I'm the co-spokesperson of this task area, data capture and enrichment. And this is a project in a nutshell we do here. So we want to connect Wikibase, a Wikibase instance for linked open data management with a compact viewer for 3D image preview and annotation, and develop a data upload pipeline via OpenRefine along this. And from the start, what I just said, we have been really using real sample data in order to be able to troubleshoot workflows of the toolchain every step of the way. And we are very lucky to have the very nice partnership with the CBDD, Corpus der barocken Deckenmalerei of the LMU Munich. And we work with a very focused sample set of data, but it's still a very rich one with this castle of Weikersheim Residenzschloss. And you see all this, what this castle data contains, right? I can click on this, but okay, you can check this out yourself. So this using linked open data, and specifically Wikibase in this case, allows us to overcome the issues of soiling data and data redundancy. So you have not we have several instances or several databases of data, and they are unconnected sources. And in this case, it was spread across several different systems, and we were able to connect it all with Wikibase instance. So also enriching that Wikibase instance with the connection to external databases, Wikidata here, or eventually then adding links to other resources like G&D, icon class, and then this can all become part of the for culture knowledge graph later on. And for annotation, we have, yeah, right, this is compact. We have this open source tool, Compact, It can handle rich media, including 2D and 3D images, as well as video. And you can collaborative edit annotation, and it follows established data standards like the W3C standards for web annotation. And here's a very simple graphic representing this system architecture. And yeah, as you see here, we have the modular system of this open source components. And we have here 3 interaction workflows: data cleaning, upload, and storage and indexing, and then presentation and annotation. And yeah, this is our screenshot of our test Wikibase instance, and it's hosted with support from Wikimedia Germany and their VB, or on the WB stack platform. And this is an overview of the data upload pipeline. This involves 4 key steps, and I'll show you this here. Where first is to collect a wide range of data from the data partners. I showed this already. We are collecting a little bit of data, but a great variety relating to different aspects. Now we want to test this, as I said, with this Weikersheim Karlsruhe. And this data includes media files, contextual metadata, very important for testing here. And yeah, our data model is based on the existing data and vocabularies used by the CBDD project and by the researchers. And we only added data relations and vocabulary when needed to stay in line with general Wikidata and Wikibase data model principles. And it's not set in stone, this data model, and it will grow organically and will be adapted according to user needs and requirements. And eventually it will also be synchronized with official recommendation published by corresponding data groups or data and task groups within NFDI for Culture. And we have here some, showing some main classes of items in the test data sets that I have here. Within the project, we have also developed a reconciliation service box for OpenRefine that also makes this deployment of this reconciliation service and a manifest needed to connect arbitrary instances of Wikibase with local instances of our OpenRefine. And finally, we are using a mix of OpenRefine actions and bot scripts. We uploaded our sample data into the Wikibase instance. And here's an example of a 3D model. And I can go here, yeah. And yeah, a very high level overview of the workflow we are developing in terms of the Wikibase and Compact connection. And we are currently focusing on phase 1 of the development. So, oops, showing here, this is just that are just wireframes. And yeah, we have so the phase 1 is a bulk upload of data, and the annotation is still manual. And the second phase next year will focus on bulk annotations operations as well, and also entity recognition of annotation. And this might be a bit not so good to see here, but here you see this better. So this is more concrete, an example of how a Compact item looks like right now. But this public version of Compact that already exists, and you can view and interact with the 3D models. But you see here on the right, this contextual metadata is very flat, very minimal, and there's no semantic data. And with this integrated product we plan to enrich this contextual metadata around this object significantly here. On the right, you see this different hierarchies and structures, and we can now navigate across the connected model based on the class relation in our Wikibase instance. And this is somehow, this is the screen for the users, and they can then do annotations here themselves on the model, and that related on this media item, and you can also, here, for instance, connect photos and semantic concepts. They are all embedded in the body of the annotation. It is a kind of a new, I think, very sophisticated way of annotating here, and user-friendly as well. Yeah, and as said, for our way how we develop, how we work, we all do this all openly. The entire development is done in the open, and some of our complete services, like the Open Reconciliation Box, are ready to reuse by the community. And we as user can also, are welcome to put requirements on our page for this. So please contribute directly to our repository. Okay, and I go back to this. And come to another project. It is also dealing with architecture. And this is called Places of Gestorben Terror in Lower Saxony. And this project started 1 year ago, and aims to research activities of the Gestapo, the Nazi Polizei, with regards, or Nazi police, with regards to its locations and infrastructure. And second, to make this knowledge digitally available, either for researchers, for memory institutions, but also for broader community. And scientists, and also citizen scientists, can constantly enrich the knowledge. And we have this is just showing work in progress. We have this 4-dimensional map you see here with this different time layers, and it is all put in conjunction, or it's built upon a Wikibase instance. So they are therefore similar to the other project I showed here. And I want to mention another aspect of the Open Science Lab that is quite unique in this context. And coming from this project, it fits somehow quite well. And this is from the recent Wikidata conference. So I will jump into this slide deck here. Okay, I'll start here for describing this. So we have a close cooperation with the University of Applied Sciences and Arts in Hanover. That is my professorship. And mostly that's how it started, like this. So we can easily, in Open Science Lab, we can easily integrate students in our work, and we can teach them using examples from our projects. And for instance, here, this Gestapo terror project. And now I jump in here, and you see that here the students had to think about a proper data model for these places of Gestapo terror. That was a task. It was just a spreadsheet here. And then to model this in Wikidata. So this was somehow in line with this, the project we anyway run. Or some here, we were using data from our Coding Da Vinci data partner, Denkmalatlas Niedersachsen, Monument Atlas of Lower Saxony. You see it here on the left. And then find a record of your monument atlas that is missing in Wikidata. So the students, that was the open knowledge lecture I did here, also dealing in this data science major of the study program of information science. And so this is just some example tasks. No? They build on each other, and students can create or enrich existing items and propose new properties and query and visualize here. And they can also then write down what they learned, and then this can then be reused again in other contexts. And one context then showed up quite soon afterwards, also dealing with kind of heritage or architectural data. That is this project, and it's started, or we got the funding now, and the official start is in January, and it's somehow a follow up on this what I just showed. And here, we want in hackathons and workshops at schools or in museums and memorial sites nearby in Lower Saxony, want to teach young people, familiarize them with the handling of open data. And they acquire important digital and media skills, such as knowing, describing the possible uses of open data, further processing the data and creating new projects from the open data, or making this processed data openly available in portals like Wikidata, Wikipedia, etc. And this is another project, or more an idea, is a case study of open access publishing pipelines. So maybe you know, we have been doing book sprints and publication projects in the Open Science Lab for some time now, especially Lambert Heller is very much involved in this, also Simon Worthington. And we consistently adapt our pipeline of open source tools. I also used this with students the previous term. We wrote a book on this, on open science guides. And now we want to integrate various digital objects on a larger scale that are already relevant in the initial architectural design process, the so-called extended sketchbook, Xsketchbook. And this also takes place in as part of our work in NFT Alpha-Culture. And briefly go to the next one. It is a bit older, but I really want to mention this, another study we did. And said I shared the link to the slides on Twitter, so you can follow the pointers I put in here, or here at the images yourself then. Because I just show here the screenshots. And this is already 3 years ago, I think, and I like this approach. Still, I like this approach a lot. So it's about decentralized solutions with our somehow innovative regarding data sovereignty, and can be interested during operation and renovation of buildings. And our approach here is to obtain a BIM model, building information model, of an existing building, uses the sensors built into smartphones or with connected accessory equipment. And so citizens and inhabitants can participate in buildings and building and maintaining processes. So just sharing the data relevant for their apartment, for whatever. But maybe it was a EU funding proposal, and we were almost refunded, but we didn't get the grant finally. It was a bit sad, and maybe because there were some that the reviewer said like, hey, there are some challenges still. One is that the occupant needs incentives to open up his sensors to provide the data, or B, the data might not be reliable enough to use it as relevant input for better renovation of a building. But here, nevertheless, I see a big area of activity here for libraries, and this broader area of building and city data. So say also helping in open government data services to see, or to help that they really become fair data and contribute in good smart city applications. And now I have a bunch of slides still or examples that we also do, or what we do also do in Open Science Lab, or quite from the start. We do many projects in the field of open research information. Also, namely, my colleague Christian Hauschke is leading all of these efforts. Yeah, and of course, also architectural work in the digital age is hardly imaginable without this networking, right? So I mentioned FED Bau Digital already. Yeah, before when I showed this architecture disciplines. And here in the Open Science Lab activity in this project at TIB, we provide a research activity and infrastructure map for building professionals. And I don't just show the screenshot, and you can click on this later, is using linked open data, and we implement it in the open source software Vivo. And this connects people, institutions, places, projects, etc. And I think I have at least 3 more projects on networked and contextualized information in architecture, and it's always somehow similar. So machines or users can enrich data, then it's made available in an open and interoperable way. And this one is uses more sophisticated information, including the integration of several terminologies relevant for architecture. And yeah, we use also Vivo here. We plan to connect this to Wikibase instance in future. And yeah, this material is from the Haupt collection, TIB Haupt. That's the only architectural archive we have at TIB. And we also digitized this material with Gobi and all this pipeline. And I'm very happy to point to my lovely colleague, Hedda Seemann, that is our subject librarian of architecture, that she can help out here. So, and yeah, we're almost at the end. This is just another example to show that architecture is so perfect for contextualization and linked data. For here, no, I got it. That was this Digamos Award, maybe this digital museum project where we were also involved. And just looking for the link. Maybe, but this is, I mean, just this Wikidata queries. And we helped here with linked data implementation, and users can, and the museums themselves can now add information and all this. Yeah, it's quite obvious. And also students are often using this as use cases, but also in other contexts. Okay. Yeah, and finally, don't think that we don't use AI, right, to help with enrichment tasks in Open Science Labs. So this is an example. Does it work? Oh yeah, it's a project that's already done, and that is taking open access images out of open access journals, and artificial intelligence adding categories there, and then helping the users using these categories to upload this to Wikimedia Commons, the image, and then they can be reused in other contexts. So here, yeah, as a user now, you see, you log in Commons, and okay, here you go. This is all done automatically. Here are the categories. They are used by the text around the images. So, and by named entity recognition, and then the user has the opportunity to select, okay, this is and that is the right category, and then go upload this to Commons, and yeah, that's it. That is a project that's already done, and I'm also done, I think, because that's the final slide here. And yeah, that was an overview of our activities on library services for architects. Or you can say the story of architecture in our library lab, and I mean, why things develop the way they are today. And yeah, thank you for listening.